In Cuba, authorities arrested the alleged Chinese drug lord nicknamed Brother Wong, a fugitive from Mexico and wanted in the United States for drug trafficking.
America, we just got one of the biggest wins in the war against fentanyl, and this story is absolutely wild. Zidong Zhang, they called him Brother Wang, Paco, He, Mr. T, this 41-year-old Chinese national who was the key link between Mexican cartels and Chinese chemical companies, just got extradited to the United States after one of the craziest international manhunts that you'd ever seen. But here's the kicker. This man escaped house arrest in Mexico through a hole in the wall, flew to Cuba on a private jet, then tried to get to Russia with fake papers, only to get turned back around and sent right back.
Washington's most wanted Chinese drug lord was finally arrested in Cuba and is now waiting to be extradited to the United States through Mexico. The U.S. government is accusing him of supplying fentanyl to the two biggest Mexican cartels and building a multi-continental criminal network whose operations spread across America.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This case shows you exactly how sophisticated these international drug networks are and why it takes some serious international cooperation to bring these criminals to justice. Brother Wang, what he likes to be called, thought he could hide anywhere in the world, but justice finally caught up with this death merchant. Let me break down who Zidong Zhang really is, because this man wasn't some street level dealer. The United States Justice Department says he was the key link between Mexican cartels, the Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco New Generation cartel, and Chinese chemical companies that supplied the precursor chemicals to make fentanyl.
U.S. authorities say Zhang had built a massive narco-traffic network, which directly supplies to two Mexican cartels for nearly a decade.
For decades, this man built massive narcotics trafficking networks that directly supplied the two biggest Mexican cartels. And remember, the Trump administration designated both the Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco New Generation cartel as terrorist groups earlier this year. So Brother Wang was literally supplying terrorist organization. But here's what shows you the scope of his operation. The United States government says his operatives are scattered across states like California and Georgia, as well as Latin America, Europe, and Asia. This wasn't just a Mexican-China connection. This was a global criminal enterprise. His organization smuggled nearly 4,000 pounds of fentanyl and over 2,000 pounds of cocaine from Mexico into the United States. But here's the number that should terrify every American. Such a massive amount of fentanyl can kill approximately 900 million people. That is almost triple the United States population. But the drug trafficking business was only half of Brother Wang's operation. This man was running a sophisticated money laundering empire that would make Wall Street jealous. After his Mexican operatives collected money from drug dealers, they used his shell companies based in China and the United States for money laundering. And get this, U.S. officials say Brother Wang has 150 shell companies and almost 200 bank accounts. 150 shell companies. An indictment against him says he laundered $20 million in the United States within just 1 year. But here's what really shows you how sophisticated this operation was. Court documents show he tends to start bank accounts with reputable banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan, and Wells Fargo. This man was using America's biggest banks to launder drug money while poisoning American communities with fentanyl. He had the audacity to use our own financial system against us while supplying the chemicals that were killing 100,000 plus Americans every year. Now here's where the story gets really concerning. Brother Wang's connection to the Chinese Communist Party. This isn't just about one criminal. This is about state-level involvement in poisoning America.
The Bureau reported that Zhang Wang flew into Canada's Vancouver back in 2017, and he saved contacts from the Chinese embassy and consulate in Ottawa and Vancouver in his phone.
Think about that. A major fentanyl trafficker has direct contacts with Chinese government officials. This is not a coincidence, you guys. The Trump administration has been putting serious pressure on Beijing to stop fueling the opioid crisis, especially fentanyl. Even slapped 20% tariffs on Chinese goods as punishment. But despite the tariffs being in place, U.S. federal agencies last month intercepted 1,300 barrels of precursor chemicals shipped from China before they could poison Americans.
And I am in Houston, Texas, and I am surrounded by 1,300 barrels of precursors that are being used to make methamphetamines. These precursors were seized as a result of work by my office in Washington, D.C., along with Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol.
These 1,300 barrels were shipped from Shanghai, China to Mexico. Now let me tell you about Brother Wang's escape attempt because it sounds like something straight out of a movie. This man was arrested in Mexico City in October 2024 in a joint operation. They put him in a maximum security prison, but then, and this is where I get heated, the judge granted him house arrest. President Claudia Sheinbaum called that decision outrageous, and she was absolutely right, something that I agree with her with. You don't give house arrest to an international drug kingpin who's been supplying terrorist cartels for decades. In July 2025, this man escapes house arrest, reportedly through a hole in the wall, gets on a private jet and flies to Cuba. From Cuba, he tries to get into Russia because Russia doesn't have extradition treaties with the United States. He gets fake papers, gets on a commercial flight from Havana to Moscow thinking that he's home free. But when he gets to Russia, the immigration authorities don't buy his fake papers. And here's the kicker, the Russians don't even know who they had. They briefly detained him, then turned him around and sent him right back to Cuba. Can you believe that? The Russians had one of the world's most wanted drug kingpins and sent him back because they didn't recognize him. Brother Wong is back in Cuba for a second time, and this time Cuban security services know exactly who he is. They hold on to him for several months, probably interrogating him, getting all kinds of intelligence before finally sending him to Mexico and then to the United States.
Now, the U.S. has never been this close to bringing the Chinese drug kingpin to justice after he managed to escape the last arrest.
Think about what the Cubans learned during those months of interrogation. Brother Wang had connections to Chinese government officials, 150 shell companies, 200 bank accounts, and operatives across multiple continents. The intelligence value of this man is absolutely enormous. And here's what a former DEA agent said that's most important. Even though they caught Brother Wang, it's not going to have a major impact on the drug trade because the cartels already have people ready to replace him. Just like when they caught El Chapo, the drugs keep flowing. That's the reality, you guys. This is a business. When you take out one player, there's always another one ready to set up. That's why this fentanyl crisis is so hard to stop. It's not just about catching individual criminals, it's about dismantling entire networks. But here's what really concerns me about this case. While all this international manhunt was happening, the United States has been conducting military strikes against alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific. 9 strikes since last month, killing at least 37 people.
The vessel was known by our intelligence to be involved in illicit narcotics smuggling, was transiting along a known narco-trafficking transit route and carrying narcotics. There were 2 narco-terrorists aboard the vessel. During the strike, which was conducted in international waters, both terrorists were killed and no U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Narco-terrorists intending to bring poison to our shores will find no safe harbor anywhere in our hemisphere, just as Al-Qaeda waged war on our homeland. These cartels are waging war on our border and our people. There will be no refuge or forgiveness, only justice.
Brother Wang's case shows you that the real fentanyl threat comes from Chinese chemical suppliers working with Mexican cartels. This case also shows you the power of international cooperation when it actually works. Mexico, Cuba, and the United States all working together to track this man down and bring him to justice. That's exactly what it takes to fight these global criminal organizations. If convicted, Brother Wang is looking at life in federal prison, just like El Chapo and El Mayo. And you know what? That's exactly where he belongs. This man was poisoning communities across multiple countries, laundering millions of dollars in drug money, and facilitating the fentanyl crisis that's killing Americans every single day. America, the Brother Wang case shows you how global and sophisticated the drug trade has become. This wasn't just about securing our borders. This required international cooperation across multiple countries and continents to track down one criminal. The scenes we're talking about, escaping through a hole in a wall, private jets to Cuba, fake papers to Russia, months of Cuban interrogation. This sounds like a movie, but it's the reality of how these international drug networks operate. This man had connections spanning from China to Mexico to the United States. He was converting drug money into cryptocurrency, had multiple identities, fake papers, private jets, and contacts with Chinese government officials. This wasn't some street-level drug dealer. This was a criminal mastermind with state-level connections. connections. But it also shows you that when countries work together, we can bring these criminals to justice. Mexico arrested him, Cuba held him, and the United States will prosecute him. That's how you fight global criminal organizations. Brother Wang thought he can hide anywhere in the world, but justice finally caught up with this death merchant, and he's facing life in federal prison for poisoning American communities and facilitating the fentanyl crisis. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.